Hello, we're going to have a look now at a basic option for using Bosch KTS for recording faults. We've got a customer's vehicle presented with a fault. We're going to have a look with using the CAN box just to kind of do some basic ABS tests without stripping the system. Okay, so we've got Bosch KTS on a laptop here with a USB just for ease of use. If you go on the Bosch website, there is a YouTube site involving setup for KTS. We're going to use the laptop setup because it's just easier to use for the purposes of this demonstration. So we've got the box hooked up inside here. So we're plugged into the OBD socket, which is available on KTS to find, but it's actually just above the clutch pedal being a BMW. And there's a little cover, and the OBD socket is inside with the port in it. So we've got the box put up like that. We've got it hardwired. We can wire it by Bluetooth, but it's a more stable connection with it connected on. So first things first, turn the ignition on to allow the box to communicate with the vehicle. So if we have a look on here, we've got the power symbol, and then we've got Bluetooth, and we've also got the vehicle on there. So the second I switch the software on, it will start to communicate with that vehicle. As long as those lights are flashing, then we know we've got diagnostics. Right, as you can see on the title page, it comes up with a tutorial videos to show you the latest versions. So those are available via Bosch. On this occasion, we're just going to kind of skip that, and then we'll go straight into using the system. So we've got different options. We've got VIN identification. If the vehicle's later than 2003 as a rule, this is kind of the way to go. We've also got the last 30 vehicles. So the last 30 vehicles that have been used on the system, we can redo. This gives you an idea as to why the Bosch course for this machine is nearly 3 whole days. There's so many kind of options on it. We've got maintenance, we've got manuals, we've got wiring diagrams, we've got known fixes. And it's all available online via the license. So if we go to VIN identification, so every vehicle's got a VIN. We can put it in manually, or we can go for an automatic. Because this is a later vehicle, it's 2004, it should work directly via VIN readout. So if we look back into the car now, we should have a link with the control unit. Yep, we've got some flashing lights there, so that's a good sign. Always worth double checking. If it's not working now, you've either got a poor connection or the ignition's not on. Generally, as a rule, the vehicle will tell you. If you go onto KTS, it will say. Right, we've got two options. This vehicle is May 2004, so it's actually on the change point. So we've got 2002 to July 2004, and then we've got August 2004 up to 2006. Okay, so we can pick that one. If we double click on there to highlight it, it now should bring the vehicle up. Okay, cursory box, just checking on the year again. So we're between 2003 and 2008. We'll click to continue. And that should bring it up now. So the vehicle system now, it will say ensure ignition is switched on. We've got a battery voltage of 11.8. Worth keeping an eye on that. If it drops too low, you can actually get kind of sent back out of the system if the voltage drops too far. Point of note, Discovery 4s and Discovery 3s, you need to connect an auxiliary charger. Okay, any period with the ignition switched on without the engine running, you need an auxiliary charger to keep that battery level topped up. Okay, so we can go into diagnosis, we can go into system search. So if we click on that box, the system will actually tell you where it's going through. This is going to go through everything now, so it will go through engine, it will go on to braking and the other systems, so we have to kind of wait for it to communicate. If you've got a later vehicle with a lot of features on, obviously this does take slightly longer. If we look up on the top there, we've got a number of errors, so it logs the errors as it interrogates all the systems. And straight away we can see there we've got ABS system, so it's a TEVS system. So you would have thought with BMW it would have been Bosch, but not necessarily. They kind of use it. So we've got 3 errors logged on that system already. Right, so this is very thorough now. It's gone through all the systems and we're just kind of coming to the end. Logged faults, we've got 2 for the ABS system, 3 for the ABS system, and we've also got 2 for immobiliser. What I would suggest is it's worth making a note of any additional faults, whether you screenshot them, take a photo, or even just go old school and write them down. The problem is if you globally clear faults and then have a recurring fault, you've lost your history. Okay, so global fault should be complete then. We're just waiting for the last little bit to come through, and then we can go into the ABS system. Straight off, we've gone into the ABS system, so we've clicked on the page. It confirms the manufacturer there. There is a warning. You get a warning on it, whatever system you've gone into. It just kind of gives you parameters to work to. Being a Bosch system, it's quite regimented, and it kind of, as long as you follow the test procedure, then you should be able to save all your work and go step by step. So space safety specific system, it tells you not to perform diagnosis whilst you're driving. If you do need to go on road test, obviously you're going to need to take a passenger with you to kind of read the diagnostic fault finding, purely from the safety point of view. Okay, so we can click on continue. And now we've narrowed down now to these 4 systems. So we've got identification, so we can identify the system. We know it's ABS Teves because it actually explains it at the top of the page. Okay, so if we go into error memory, you've got 2 options. You can double click or go on continue. I would suggest continue. So we've got 3 faults. Okay, so we've got CAN message from the network to tell the control unit there's a fault. So this vehicle is fitted with traction control as well, so it uses the ABS system. So you can use that to guide your fault finding. Okay, so if you've got an ABS fault, stands to reason that it's going to affect traction control. Okay, we've got the RPA button faulty, which is a setting button for drivers. But this is the one we're most interested in. We've got wheel speed sensor front left, incorrect or no signal. Now that's near side front, so the way Bosch kind of worded it, they put it down as front left. So it's either got the wrong signal, so there's a bit of an anomaly in the signal, or there's nothing at all. Okay, so that guides our fault finding. So if we click on that fault, and then we can go back into our testing. So if we go back to return, okay, now we can either erase the fault memory or we can actually go to values. I would suggest in this occasion we keep the fault memory and then we can kind of erase it at the end. Worth noting with ABS, you need to road test the vehicle after you've erased any faults. The system has to reboot over 20 kilometers an hour. If you don't, it will log on the faults that you've already fixed and it will flag them back up to the customer. So it's definitely need to road test the vehicle. Right, so if we go on actual values, so we can select up to 4 values at one time. So obviously with 4 wheel speed sensors, we can also test the brake light switch if we had a fault with that. We can even check the brake fluid level on this vehicle without even opening the bonnet. And we can check the traction control system as well. Now we know that's going to be faulty because the ABS doesn't work, so it's automatically switched that system off. So we've got a fault on the front left, according to the fault memory, so we'll click on that one. And we'll also, for comparison, click on the right-hand one on the front. Okay, so we can change the time profile. I'm quite happy to do it just as an active test. Okay, so we've got wheel speed left. All the readings are taken in kilometers. Generally, that's kind of how the system works. It's a smaller unit than miles per hour, so it allows it to be more sensitive. The system will allow for a little bit of a variation between 2 wheels, but purely probably about 1 kilometre. So if I dive under here now, if I can go and spin that by hand, we should get a fluctuation in that reading. Okay, so it's perfectly safe to do this test by hand, and because the machine picks up such a low turning, literally I could probably turn that by hand now and it will work. So straight away we can see the readings going, and that's just literally gentle speed. So it's sensitive enough to pick up sort of 2-3 kilometers per hour. Okay, so if I give it a hard spin, so we can see straight away that that wheel's reading okay. Okay, so I'm more than happy with that as a base setting. So now I can get my colleague, almost by magic. Sam, if you'd like to spin the other wheel for me, that'd be great. Okay, obviously if I was working on my own, I'd take the kit round the other side and do that. So we can now see that we've got a speed signal on that side as well. Okay, so that is allowing us to read that there is some kind of signal. So now this fault said there was no signal at all or incorrect. So now straight away we can narrow that down. We've got a signal, So now we need to check it against the other side to see if it is indeed correct. Okay, so thank you, Sam, if you'd like to stop turning that. Okay, so next test from here really would probably to get somebody to sit in the vehicle, and then we can actually start the engine and run it up. So we'll get on to that now. So I'll get somebody to get in the vehicle, and then we'll re-perform the test, but do it with the engine running.